So 3 years ago, I saw the trailer for the New Mutants, and aside from the hacky remake of The Wall, I thought it looked interesting enough to make me, a guy who disliked the entire MCU, get the teensiest amount excited. It was an X-Men property, but it looked fresh beyond recognition. It looked like a horror film. As you may know, the production has been pushed many times. One reason, of course, being the rights to the X-Men being sold to Disney.
The X-Men and Fantastic Four have joined the Marvel Studios family.
And another being COVID-19. In general, when a new production company absorbs the assets of another one, they tend to drop any movies that were halfway finished because either a lot of the people gunning for that movie aren't involved anymore, or the new studio just doesn't get what the project really was, and they want to tighten their belt and focus on guaranteed wins.
You don't think we should wait and see how this one does first? No, it's probably fine. We're gonna make a ton of movies in the X-Men Origins series. Well, okay then.
Plus, if the old company knew what they were doing, then they probably wouldn't have to sell to us anyway. Well, in the case of the New Mutants, it wasn't obvious what would happen, but eventually the info came out that the movie was already in post-production when the sale happened. Now all Disney had to do was figure out if they wanted to make any changes, and then press the OK button. Unfortunately, if you look at the new trailer, the horror film aspect has been pared way down in favor of a safer and more traditional X-Men experience. At this point, I'm not even sure I'm going to see it since it just looks like another reboot of X-Men First Class.
Steven Bear! Let's play a game.
And it dawned on me that this isn't the first time I felt this way. When I first saw the trailer for Rogue One, I thought my dreams had come true with a gritty war movie set in the Star Wars universe, and once again, that movie, after testing with audiences, underwent changes to pare down some of the off-genre aspects. But what genre were they off of? The Star Wars genre. Just like the New Mutants looked like a departure from the superhero genre. For as many superhero films as we've had, they all feel so similar when you watch them. They have long ago become a whole movie genre by themselves. Disney wanting to possibly make the New Mutants more palatable made it fit into this tried and true style. So we keep getting the same bland stories told the same bland way.
I just feel like Star Wars is largely, this is a pet theory that I think almost no one agrees with, but I think Star Wars largely took off to the degree that it did because of the art and costume design and score, more than the script or acting or editing or any other craft element.
I think Star Wars and superheroes have lost their story charm, and that horse can only be beaten so many times. So what could possibly get a cynic like me to care about future titles in those categories? Going genre. We already have some good examples. Logan is first a modern western that borrows from films like The Unforgiven. I mean, hell, Shane is directly referenced in the movie it basically borrows the formula for. Joker is a Martin Scorsese-esque film crime drama with constant comparisons, good or bad, to The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. And The Mandalorian also gives us a break from the damn Skywalker family and takes us on a western/Ronin-style adventure, with obvious comparisons to Zatoichi. What do all these projects have in common? People like me actually care to watch them, and they had critical success. Star Wars fatigue and superhero fatigue are for sure setting in, and believe me, they won't be able to keep it up as is forever.
People give me about Jar Jar Binks. They say, oh, this is stupid. Well, you happy I'm gone now? You don't have Daddy to kick around anymore, because this is what you get.
You can take your girlfriend who has no interest in superheroes to watch Joker because it's accessible through a genre the non-comic enthusiast is already familiar with. But another good side effect is, it forces you to write a real story. I would love to see a Blade Runner-style detective story in the Star Wars universe set in Coruscant. Blade Runner is a very high concept, but it still has a solid detective story built into it. They couldn't just use your nostalgia of the old comic books that you read as a kid. Oftentimes, movies just sit back and let the power of the brand sell the tickets.
Wow, dude, Pride rock!
But if you want to think there's a reason to go watch the film, it needs to seem like it can stand on its own legs. Which, with the before mentioned examples, we've shown that these universes can handle. Say what you will about Ant-Man, but at least it was a heist movie and felt like it was about something. Same thing with Rogue One.
What will you become?
It was a selling point to me that it was going to be a rugged war movie set in Star Wars. Until they backed off and did reshoots until it was just another bland Star Wars movie. But it got me to buy a ticket, hoping I wasn't just going to see a rehash of what I've already seen in Star Wars. Which leads me to my next point. Say what you will about George Lucas and the prequels, and seriously, I'll join you.
Don't do that again.
But then I'll say that at least he expanded the Star Wars universe in them. Now, pod racing is every bit as authentic Star Wars to me as Death Stars. Generally speaking, although terrible, the prequels weren't just a rehash of the first 3 movies, like 7, 8, and 9 were.
When they finally meet face to face, they exchange some words and only the one with the red lightsaber makes it out alive. Loved ones scream no like this and start shooting up the place.
What's hard is that Disney is so afraid of mixing the pot up that they choose to just make their movies entirely out of member berries.
Oh, I love to member
So when a new creator comes on scene to make a screenplay, they have to first fit in
X-Wings! Death Star! Grand Moff Tarkin!
TIE Fighters!
And that's partly because they only ever want to tell the Skywalker saga. So I propose they leave the Skywalkers alone and tell more genre stories like The Mandalorian instead. Make an R-rated drama like Requiem for a Dream with a Twi'lek who has a serious spice problem and moms who gets addicted to space diet pills. Or a Gungan comedy aimed at children. Or a superhero movie, but with the Force user surrounded by non-Force users. These could be playgrounds for the writers to expand the universe with loads of new gadgets and worlds that the characters get to spend more than 45 seconds on. Introduce new ways of trade or religion. These could all be things that we'd finally have time for in a smaller story. Hire award-winning writers to give Star Wars a chance to ever win an Oscar again for something not special effects related. And then maybe, just maybe, we can squeeze another 10 years out of these bored franchises. And if not, then I'm afraid they might just end up the way of the zombie. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Bonus content! Here's a few pitch ideas I have for Star Wars. A guy crashes on Kashyyyk and has to choose a side during a clan war. Maybe one of the clans is obviously evil but has the gear he needs to make it back to his family. Will he choose the right side? Will he make it home? Find out in Blood Claw, a Star Wars story. Or what about a group of guys fixing up their junker ship to race the Kessel Run? Maybe the hero gets new parts from an unreliable source and the new parts are filled with space drugs. Possibly space drugs the no-good operator of the Kessel Run was supposed to ship. Can our boy win the race and keep his head at the same time? Find out on Kessel Run, a Star Wars story. And what about a heist movie set in Coruscant? A criminal from where the sun gets no purchase climbs to the top to steal the most credits ever stolen in one job. He builds a team of old comrades with varying levels of bitterness from old betrayals, each of which possessing unique skills that make the robbery possible. But will our hero be able to overcome a major setback when they're recognized by the head of security? Find f***ing out. Ocean's 14, a Star Wars story. Robert Eggers is a writer, director, new on the scene with 2 matches and 2 wins under his belt. In 2015, he wowed us with The Witch, a terrifying horror piece that was notable especially for having extremely well-researched dialects and set design.
Let us leave the wood.